king of German mercenaries.
Chapter 220, the plan of using the passage of Gua as a pass. Maximilian I didn't know what he was thinking about, and suddenly frowned. After a while, Maximilian I said to Marin, "Marin, I suddenly remembered that although the Graubünden region did not join the alliance, last year and the year before, the three local alliances seem to have secretly formed an alliance with the Swiss alliance. In other words, if I besiege the Graubünden region, the Swiss alliance may send troops." This. Marin also frowned. He knew the combat effectiveness of the Emperor's army and the Swabian army. They were not weak, but compared with the Swiss mercenaries, they were just dregs. Although blocking the news could keep the Swiss from knowing for a while, even in the Middle Ages when news transmission was backward, it was fine to block the news for 10 days or half a month, but if it lasted for a long time, it would definitely be exposed. Because if a region did not communicate with the outside world for more than a month, people in other places would definitely be curious about what happened. Once investigated, it would be exposed. Moreover, Marin did not think that the Emperor's army could sweep across the Graubünden region within a month. If the Swiss reinforcements arrived and attacked from both inside and outside, the Emperor might fail. However, as an important channel connecting Tyrol to Italy, if it is not taken, the influence on the Italian region will be greatly reduced. Originally in history, it was because of the failure to fight for the Graubünden region that Louis XII successfully dealt with the Duchy of Milan, an ally of the Holy Roman Empire, when he marched into Italy. And because he could not seize Graubünden, a channel directly connected to Milan, Maximilian I could not even rescue Milan. In addition to the war with the Swiss, originally in history, Maximilian I watched France annex the Duchy of Milan. Muster Valley, traffic route. Milan. Italy. Marin began to ponder. Maximilian I was drinking a drink on the side did not disturb him. But he knew that Marin was thinking of something bad again. Sure enough, about half an hour later, a traditional Chinese strategy formed in Marin's mind. "Your Majesty, if you are willing to formally recognize my status as Earl, I am willing to offer a plan to help you take over the Graubünden region without any effort," Marin said confidently. "Oh. You have such a skill." Maximilian I was surprised. "You know, Graubünden is not a small area, about twice the size of East Frisia. Moreover, there are mountains and steep hills, and the terrain is difficult to attack." Marin said it was effortless, which really made Maximilian I a little unconvinced. He thought Marin was bragging to seek recognition of his status as a count. Of course, this was a brilliant plan that Professor Einstein taught me. Its effect can be compared to the ambush on King Charles VIII of France. Really? Maximilian I immediately became interested. Graubünden has an area of 6,000 to 7,000 square kilometers, which is very large. Moreover, it borders the Emperor's territory, the Duchy of Tyrol, to the east. For a long time, the Habsburg family has been infiltrating the Graubünden region in an attempt to control this area. It is precisely because of the Habsburg family's step-by-step pressure that the three local forces in Graubünden have quietly formed an alliance with the Swiss Confederation. Although the Graubünden region has many mountains, it also has many fertile river valleys. Moreover, the local wine is abundant, so it is also a good place. If the Emperor could take it, he would make a lot of money. Of course. Do you think I'm a liar? We can sign a written agreement. If your Majesty can easily take Graubünden, you will recognize my status as Count. If you can't take Graubünden, you won't recognize me. So confident? Well, tell me about it. Let's sign an agreement first. Marin was a man who would not give up until he saw the rabbit. The Western Emperor was not as inviolable as the Eastern Emperor. It was okay to make a condition. Moreover, Marin now controlled a county, so he had the confidence and qualifications to negotiate with the Emperor. This. The Emperor hesitated. After all, if he really recognized Marin's status, he would offend the powerful Duke of Saxony. "Your Majesty, as far as I know, Louis XII may march into Italy this year and capture the Duchy of Milan." This is true. In history, Louis XII did invade the Duchy of Milan in 1499, occupied the entire Duchy of Milan, and drove away the Sforza family. At that time, Maximilian I was busy fighting the Swiss and did not have the important pass of Graubünden. He could not support his ally Milan and could only watch the Duchy of Milan being occupied by France. Are you serious? Maximilian I immediately took it seriously. Of course, according to the information provided by my informant in Paris, the French may collude with the Venetians to divide Milan. Historically, it was indeed the Venetians who invited Louis XII to help clean up the Duchy of Milan. Because the Duchy of Milan was very strong, it affected Venice's expansion in Italy. For this reason, Venice did not hesitate to invite the French to swallow up the Duchy of Milan and help itself clear the obstacles. Your Majesty, as you know, when the Visconti family that ruled Milan died out, it was originally agreed that Charles I, Duke of Orleans, would succeed to the throne. But the locals of Milan established a republic, and the Sforza family later took advantage of it. Legally speaking, the Duke of Orleans and his descendants can be considered the legal heirs to the Duchy of Milan. And this generation's Duke Louis of Orleans has become King Louis XII of France. In other words, the new King Louis XII of France has reason to invade the Duchy of Milan. Therefore, Your Majesty, you must control the Mustere Valley to facilitate support for the Duchy of Milan. You are right. I must support the Duchy of Milan. Because my queen is from the Sforza family. Moreover, the Duchy of Milan was an important ally of the emperor in Italy and a bridgehead for the emperor to intervene in Italian affairs. Therefore, its importance can be imagined. Furthermore, the emperor's army had only two ways to enter Italy: one is the western route from the Mustere Valley into the Duchy of Milan, the other is the eastern route. However, the Republic of Venice was a powerful country and did not get along well with the Holy Roman Empire. If the emperor rashly wanted to intervene in Italian affairs, the Venetians might not allow him to enter Italy. Therefore, the western passage connecting to the ally, the Duchy of Milan, was even more important to the emperor. Thinking about his grand blueprint for Italy and comparing it with the Duke of Saxony's wishes, it is obvious that his grand blueprint is more important. Finally, the emperor nodded. Okay, let's sign the contract. Let's make it clear that if you follow my instructions, I won't suffer too much loss. Don't worry. After signing the document, the emperor asked, can you tell me now? Yes, of course. The strategy one want to talk about comes from the Far East. It has a name, called Fake Road to Attack Gua. To attack Gua through a false pretext. This sentence was difficult to translate into German, and the emperor did not understand it either. So Marin had to start explaining. In the Far East, a king wanted to attack two neighboring small countries. However, the two small countries helped each other and formed an alliance, blah blah blah. The king of Yu accepted the benefits of the king of Jin, so he allowed the Jin army to pass through. After the Jin army conquered Gua, they returned to the court. When passing by Yu on the way, they deliberately stopped the army near the capital of Yu. Later, the king of Jin personally led the army to Yu to welcome the army that conquered Gua, and then invited the king of Yu to go out hunting. When the king of Yu accompanied the king of Jin to go hunting, the army of Jin took the opportunity to cooperate inside and outside, captured the capital of Yu, and easily controlled the king of Yu, who followed the king of Jin out of the city to hunt. After hearing this, the emperor thought for a while and said, you mean to let me pretend to borrow the passage from the Graubünden people to Italy, and then take over Graubünden in one fell swoop when the Graubünden people are not paying attention? Yes, that's what I mean. But what excuse can I use to pass through Italy? I am bringing a large army with me. I can't use the excuse of attacking our ally, the Duchy of Milan, right? Your Majesty, have you forgotten? You are the emperor, but unfortunately you have not been crowned yet. Marin reminded. What do you mean? The emperor was a little surprised. March on Rome. Who would doubt such a good excuse? Every emperor of every generation must go to Rome, whether it is to march on Rome or to go to Rome in a low-key manner, they must go to Rome once. Your Majesty, if you use this as an excuse, will the people of Graubünden doubt it? But isn't this a bit too much? Maximilian I was a little speechless. Marching into Rome would be a provocation to the Pope. If it succeeds, it's fine, but if it fails, it would be embarrassing. No, you just need to write a letter to the Pope in secret and explain it. That's right, that's a good idea. Your Majesty, you are going to march on Rome with an army of tens of thousands. That is reasonable, isn't it? Of course, 10,000 people is not enough. And Your Majesty is based in Innsbruck, the capital of the Duchy of Tyrol, so it's normal for you to take the western route, right? That's right. You should make it known to everyone. Then the people of Graubünden will not suspect your motives. But how can we trick the local leaders out of the city? That's easy. You can make a big show of yourself, but you have to accept congratulations from the lords of various places along the way and entertain them along the way. When you get to Ch, the capital of Graubünden, you can also invite local celebrities, including the local archbishop, to attend your banquet. Then, wait until they arrive at the banquet and catch them together. The emperor finally understood. That's it. How can I make them believe me and come out of the city for the banquet? Didn't I tell you that you started from the Tyrol region and began to entertain the lords along the way? It doesn't matter if you walk slowly, but you must let the people of Graubünden in Chu know the news. Let them know that it's okay to attend the emperor's banquet because the emperor is about to be crowned and is happy. Then, after entering the Graubünden region, you will entertain the local gentry all the way from the border area until you reach the vicinity of Chu. Since nothing happened to the people ahead of you, the people in Chu will naturally not feel any danger. When all the important figures of Graubünden in Chu come to the banquet, we can catch them all in one fell swoop. If we capture them, will we be able to open the city gates? Not necessarily, but I have a solution. You can find a Graubünden lord who is willing to surrender, and have them bring the elite guards you have recruited, pretending to be the guards of that important person, and enter the city together. Then, with the cooperation of the inside and the outside, once you take down the city gate, you can lead your army into the city. This is indeed a brilliant plan, and it's very poisonous. However, Marin, if I do this, I can certainly easily take Graubünden. However, my reputation will be ruined in the future. Besides, the march to Rome will not end well. What the emperor said was true. If Graubünden was openly plotted against this time and the lords of other regions knew about it, who would dare to borrow the passage for the emperor's army in the future? In the future, the emperor's army would not have to leave Austria. Rome Chen, let me think about it. It was almost evening when Marin came up with a solution. Yes, your majesty. You can send your men to disguise themselves as local nobles at the banquet and pretend to assassinate your majesty. Pretend to assassinate me? What do you mean? That fake local noble has tried to kill you. Does that give you an excuse to get angry and take over Graubünden? After all, they are trying to kill the emperor. That's the truth. Moreover, afterwards, your majesty, you can also pretend to be seriously injured and bedridden. In this way, you don't have to go to Italy, and you can cancel the march on Rome. What a great idea. The emperor slammed the table and stood up. In this way, the emperor had a sufficient excuse to seize Graubünden. Moreover, the emperor's feigned injury could win the sympathy and support of public opinion. Then, the march on Rome could be cancelled. Why would he go to Rome when he was seriously injured? Naturally, there was no need to really clash with the Pope. Therefore, this method really killed two birds with one stone. Moreover, if it took a short time to occupy the Graubünden region, the Swiss Confederation would not be able to react even if they wanted to rescue them. By the time they reacted, the emperor would have already arranged defenses to guard against the Swiss army. Although the Swiss spearmen were fierce in field battles, their ability to attack cities was average. Because it was not convenient for the spearmen to climb the city walls with their several meter-long spears. Even if they climbed the city walls with short knives, they would be stabbed down by the spearmen defending the city. Therefore, the emperor's army could not defeat the Swiss in field battles. But if they defended the city, they could completely resist the attacks of the Swiss. The only problem was that he had to communicate with Pope Alexander VI in private to avoid misunderstandings. Maximilian I was not in a good situation. If the Pope called on all of Europe to oppose the emperor, then Maximilian I would be in trouble. In this regard, Marin's suggestion is simple: give money. Pope Alexander VI and his son are the most greedy for money. As long as enough money is given, they will not have any objection. In this way, the emperor, with a sly smile, and Marin made a conspiracy to seize the Graubünden region in southeastern Switzerland. Chapter 221, Letter from Archbishop Rovere. The emperor and Marin laughed evilly, and suddenly thought of something. By the way, Marin, after this plan is successfully implemented, what reason should I use to recognize your legal status? You know, there must be an excuse, right? For example, you have made a contribution or something. This way, it can also shut up the Duke of Saxony. Isn't it considered a credit that I have offered this strategy? That's true, but this plan cannot be made public. I cannot use this as an excuse to reward you. It will affect my reputation. Well, Marin had to think hard again. He thought all night, and it wasn't until the next morning that Marin came up with a solution. Your Majesty, I have a solution. Oh. What method? It has to make sense on the surface. I am very sure of that. Your Majesty, didn't I discuss with you before and ask you to pretend to be assassinated and seriously injured? Yeah, what's wrong? Your Majesty, you can pretend to be seriously injured. Ordinary doctors can't cure you. Then what? I took 2 miracle doctors with me and happened to cure your Majesty and save His Majesty's life. Does this count as a great achievement? Is it still possible? But it is a solution. But, Marin, do you have a famous doctor? Don't bring an unconvincing doctor. Of course. I have invited 2 highly skilled Mongolian doctors from the Golden Horde. Mongolian doctor. Is that okay? The emperor obviously had never heard of the Mongolian doctor's reputation. Of course they can. At least in terms of treating injuries and bone setting, they are top-notch doctors. Your Majesty can send someone to Eastern Europe to inquire. You don't need to go anywhere else, just go to the Teutonic Knights and you will know. The medical skills of Mongolian doctors are much better than those of local European doctors. Okay, I'll do as you say. I'll pretend to be seriously injured, and you'll bring people here. I'll cooperate with you in a play, saying that your Mongolian doctor cured my knife wound and saved my life. Then, I'll have the excuse of saving my life and officially confer you the title of Earl. I don't think the Duke of Saxony will be able to say anything. Of course, your Majesty's life is very precious. Saving your life will surely convince others. By the way, you must give me more such insidious ideas in the future. I like it very much. I will have another large piece of territory, haha. Maximilian I was in a good mood. The Graubünden region has more than 7,000 square kilometers of land, and some principalities are not that big. He was very glad that a genius like Marin was on his side, not on the enemy's side. Just like Charles VIII, because he was the king of the enemy, he suffered a great loss and lost face. I guess Charles VIII died early because of shame, Maximilian I thought so. After finishing the pleasant negotiations with the emperor, Marin returned to East Frisia with a relaxed and happy mood. However, after returning to Auric, a letter from Paris instantly destroyed Marin's happy mood. It turned out that the letter was sent by Archbishop Rovere in Paris, the future Pope Julius II. Before, Marin had been entrusted by Angela to send someone to Paris to contact Archbishop Rovere. Now, Archbishop Rovere did reply, and Marin was very happy at first. It seemed that the future Pope still valued Angela very much and replied so quickly. However, after peeking at the letter, Marin's face darkened instantly. The letter was written in Latin, luckily not in Italian, otherwise Marin would not be able to understand it. When he first read the letter, Marin was very happy. Because, from the address in the letter, he knew that Angela was actually the daughter of Archbishop Rovere, not a niece or something like that. In other words, marrying Angela was equivalent to becoming the son-in-law of the future Pope. This good news made Marin very happy and full of imagination. But after reading the rest, Marin's face turned black. It turned out that when he sent someone to Paris to contact Bishop Rovere, Marin was still just the Baron of Wadden. Archbishop Rovere looked down on Marin, a small baron with only a few small islands. He didn't know how rich the Wadden Islands were. Therefore, in his letter, Bishop Rovere sternly asked Angela not to get involved with Marin. As for the life-saving grace, Bishop Rovere claimed that he would find a way to make it up to Marin in the future. However, in terms of marriage, Archbishop Rovere said that he had recently contacted the heir of a French earl. The other party looked at the oil painting that Archbishop Rovere had asked the painter to paint for Angela and expressed his interest in Angela. Therefore, Archbishop Rovere is planning to marry Angela to the earl's heir, because the earl is a favorite of the new French King Louis XII. Archbishop Rovere's original supporter was Charles VIII, but Charles VIII has passed away and the new king has ascended the throne. Bishop Rovere, who is in exile in Paris, is trying to curry favor with Louis XII. Therefore, he is very happy to marry Louis XII's favorite. As for a small country baron like Marin, he is not considering it. Marin was so angry when he read the letter. Damn, you look down on me so much. Moreover, if Archbishop Rovere really took Angela to France and married her to the son of the French count, wouldn't it be a waste of time? So, Marin thought about it and decided to keep the letter and not show it to Angela, so as to prevent the little girl from having other ideas. Although Marin was very confident in himself, he was afraid that the little girl would listen too much to her father. However, Archbishop Rovere's reply letter still had to be shown to Angela. Of course, it was hard to say whether it was the original letter. Don't forget, Marin is an expert at imitating handwriting. Then, Marin spent a day imitating Archbishop Rovere's handwriting and forged another reply letter. In this letter, Archbishop Rovere's tone was completely different. In the letter, Archbishop Rovere praised Marin to the heavens and earth, calling him a truly great man. Moreover, he also said that he was most relieved to entrust Angela to Marin. Finally, Marin also made up a lie in the letter, saying that Archbishop Rovere would return to Italy with Louis XII's army. Therefore, he had no time to attend his daughter's wedding, but he would send his best wishes. After checking the letter repeatedly, he checked the original letter from Archbishop Rovere to see if there were any hidden marks. As a result, Marin actually found a special mark on the envelope, which was probably used to distinguish the authenticity and prevent outsiders from forging letters. So, Marin continued to use Archbishop Rovere's original envelope and resealed it with wax. However, the letter inside was replaced by Marin. Chapter 222, Getting Married Early. After swapping out Archbishop Rovere's letter, Marin began to get anxious because the development of the matter had exceeded his expectations. Originally, he thought Angela was just Julius II's niece, so he naturally didn't worry about Julius II interfering in Angela's marriage. But now Julius II suddenly became Angela's father, and things changed. What made Marin depressed was that the future pope decided to marry Angela to the son of Louis XII's favorite in order to curry favor with Louis XII. Although Marin is now a count of an independent county, which is much more practical than the count of Louis XII's favorite, but that's not the truth. Although the favorite did not have Marin's power, he was able to influence Louis XII's thinking. Archbishop Rovere was declared a black bishop by the current Pope Alexander VI, and the situation was very bad. Therefore, he had a strong desire to seek the help of Louis XII to help him fight back to Rome. Only European superpowers like France and Spain can intervene in Rome's problems with their tyrannical strength. As for other countries, the Holy Roman Emperor Maximilian I has too many domestic opponents to help him pacify Italy. Britain is not strong at the moment, and the domestic opposition has not been completely dealt with. After all, only France and Spain have the ability to help him. However, Alexander VI was a Spaniard and was supported by Spain. Therefore, if Archbishop Rovere wanted to turn the tables and deal with Alexander VI, who was supported by the Spanish, he could only rely on France. Although Marin himself was doing well, he was only a count of a small country and had no ability or qualifications to participate in Italian affairs. Therefore, between the heir of the count who could influence the decision-making of the King of France and Marin estimated that it was very likely that Archbishop Rovere would not choose him. Even though Marin used the method of substitution to stop Archbishop Rovere's plan this time, Archbishop Rovere already knew that Angela was on his side because of Angela's initiative to contact him. Therefore, Marin could conceal it once, but not several times. If one day, Archbishop Rovere used the influence of the French to force me to hand over Angela, I would be in a dilemma. However, Archbishop Rovere wanted to take Angela back in order to marry her to the son of Louis XII's favorite. After much deliberation, Marin decided to marry Angela as soon as possible. Once it became a fait accompli, Archbishop Rovere could only roll his eyes. Divorce. In principle, the Church did not allow divorce unless the other party died or betrayed. Even a British king like Henry VIII needed to apply to the Pope for special approval if he wanted to divorce. Later, Henry VIII even converted the entire UK to Protestantism in order to facilitate divorce. He became the highest religious leader in the UK and could approve his own divorce. Because divorce was difficult and one could only marry one wife, medieval lords often did not care much whether a woman had been married before, as long as the woman had a generous dowry. Of course, if a married woman wanted to remarry, in addition to a generous dowry, she had to prove that she had given birth and was fertile. Because even the nobles could not divorce easily. If one was unlucky enough to marry a woman who could not have children, he would have to accept the tragic fate of having no descendants. It can be said that as long as Marin married Angela first, Archbishop Rovere would have no other options. Unless Marin died prematurely, Archbishop Rovere could take Angela away. Just like Julius II's youngest daughter Felice, who had married an unknown country landlord when she was in trouble, which obviously made Julius II lose face. So, after Julius II became pope, the unknown landlord was probably harmonized. Anyway, there was no problem for widows in Europe to remarry. After that, Julius II found a duke's son as a husband for Felice. Of course, that set of rules doesn't apply to Marin. Marin is not an unknown country landlord, and he can't be easily harmonious. Moreover, according to Marin's status, he is still a good match for Angela. However, Archbishop Rovere is in a difficult situation now and needs to please France for help, so he is more inclined to the son of the Count, a favorite of King Louis XII of France. However, if Marin took the initiative, then no one else would have a chance to take the initiative. Just like Maximilian I was forced to marry. The reason why Charles VIII forced the marriage was that Maximilian I did not personally marry Anne of Brittany, but only used an informal proxy marriage method, which did not count. If Maximilian I really went to marry Anne of Brittany and took an oath, Charles VIII would not have been able to force the marriage. Unless he planned to kill Maximilian I and make Anne a widow first. In short, as long as Marin married Angela first, Archbishop Rovere's plan would fail. Moreover, it was not so easy for him to die, as he had powerful bodyguards like Khan around him. Moreover, Marin was cautious by nature. Since he accidentally got hit by a brick in his previous life, Marin learned his lesson in this life and often brought dozens of strong men with him to prevent assassination. Therefore, if others wanted to assassinate him, they had to have the strength to do so. It was based on this consideration that Marin deliberately modified Archbishop Rovier's letter and encouraged Angela to marry him. Moreover, the father usually had to be present at the wedding and hand the bride to the groom in person. However, the problem was that Angela was an illegitimate daughter, and Archbishop Rovier could not appear publicly as her father and attend the wedding. Therefore, Angela also knew that her wedding was destined to let another person pretend to be her father and give herself to her future husband. Therefore, it was not particularly necessary for Archbishop Rovier to attend the wedding or not. Of course, under normal circumstances, Archbishop Rovier could still attend among the guests. However, Marin found an excuse for him in the forged letter, saying that he couldn't come. This trick might not be able to fool people with rich social experience, but Angela was still a little girl, not even an adult. How could she have such knowledge? Therefore, she was very happy when Marin's forged letter was handed to her. She was also very happy that her father supported her to marry Marin. Besides the fact that she likes Marin very much, marrying Marin is definitely not a loss. Because Marin is now the Earl of a county. If she marries Marin, she will be the Countess of this county, which is equivalent to the Queen of a small kingdom. It is definitely a big profit. Because she was born as an illegitimate daughter. If her father was the Pope now, it would be nothing to marry a count. However, for now, Angela knew that her father was just a wanted criminal by the Pope and his status was very poor. Under such circumstances, she was lucky to marry a count of a county. The only thing that worried Angela was whether Marin was willing to marry her. After all, things are different now. Marin was just a small baron on Texel Island before, so it was not too unfair for him to marry her. However, now Marin is the ruler of a country, and he has a lot of choices. Therefore, Angela has no confidence. You know, after Marin became the Count of East Frisia, although no duke or earl was willing to marry his daughter to Marin because he was not recognized. However, Angela knew that once Marin was widely recognized, the possibility of marriage with those duchies or earls was very high. Even now, when he is not widely recognized, Marin is still sought after by many baronial families, and many barons seek to marry their daughters to Marin. For example, the fat and uterine Geoffrey thought about marrying his little daughter to Marin. Angela knew about this. If Geoffrey's little daughter was not too fat and her appearance did not meet Marin's requirements, Angela didn't know whether this matter would be successful. However, what Angela didn't expect was that Marin was planning to marry her earlier because he was worried that Archbishop Rovier would come and ask for her. However, considering that Angela is only 16 years old and not yet an adult, Marin suddenly felt that he was a beast, actually wanting to attack an underage girl. But there was no way, it was all forced by the future Pope's father-in-law.